Several unexplained phenomena have puzzled scientists, but what occurred off Florida's coast may be the most disturbing. The U.S. government has shut down miles of beaches, deployed military ships, and set up exclusion zones around what's described as an offshore anomaly of interest. Though officials cite environmental concerns, the scale of the operation suggests more. Following a February weekend, the Atlantic coast became a guarded military area. Black substances washed ashore, triggering a massive federal response involving the Coast Guard, Navy, and Homeland Security. With beach evacuations and restricted airspace, the truth behind this discovery remains obscured. The first signs of trouble along Florida's Atlantic coast seemed minor. During a February weekend, beachgoers in Broward County noticed strange black clumps scattered across the sand. Initially assumed to be harmless marine debris or seaweed, these clumps turned out to be something else entirely. Local resident Seth Platt recounted stepping on what he thought was a rock, only to find a thick, tar-like substance stuck to his foot. Children taking part in a beach cleanup also became covered in the sticky material, despite repeated warnings. These were tarballs, weathered remnants of crude oil formed when petroleum interacts with sunlight and seawater. While not unusual in small numbers, the sheer volume and sudden appearance raised serious concerns. Normally, winter currents push offshore material away from the Florida coast, making this contamination event highly irregular. Environmental officials noted how abnormal it was. A NOAA spokesperson said the simultaneous arrival of tarballs across several counties defied known ocean behavior. The timing and scale made this event unprecedented. Authorities reacted swiftly. Beaches from Fort Lauderdale to Palm Beach were closed. Lifeguards evacuated visitors, and cleanup crews worked to remove the contaminated sand. The Coast Guard conducted aerial surveillance to search for oil spills, tanker leaks, or damaged pipelines. That's when the mystery deepened. No source could be found. Port Everglades, handling over 12 million gallons of petroleum daily, came under scrutiny. But despite its high traffic, no links to the contamination were identified. Surveillance revealed no leaking vessels or ruptured pipelines. This absence of evidence only heightened the concern. How could such a large-scale tarball event occur without a known trigger? Tools like molecular fingerprinting can trace oil back to its source, yet no results from such analyses were made public. The lack of transparency led to speculation. Had authorities discovered something they chose not to share? What began as a mysterious environmental incident soon escalated into a national security concern. Gulf Coast fishermen reported strange sonar readings, vertical, symmetrical anomalies that didn't match natural formations. At first, experts suspected a shipwreck or old military debris, common in Florida's busy coastal waters. That assumption ended once divers reached the site. Resting about 30 feet below the surface was a massive metallic structure partially buried under sediment and coral. It was over 2 stories tall, with a mirror-like surface that bent light in unusual ways. Covering it were intricate geometric patterns unlike any known language, math system, or cultural symbols. The object wasn't inert. It emitted rhythmic pulses through the water, vibrations that reacted to tides, solar activity, and even the presence of people. These pulses were measured by divers and nearby equipment, revealing a responsive, intelligent design. Technological anomalies followed. Compasses spun erratically near the structure. Depth sensors returned impossible readings, suggesting the object might exist across multiple dimensions. Encrypted military comms malfunctioned in its vicinity, suffering unexplained interference. Material analysis only deepened the mystery. Though metallic, the object didn't match any known element and resisted corrosion. It remained warm in cold water, repelled marine life, and showed no biological growth. Microscopic imaging revealed internal movement, with the material itself actively reconfiguring. It wasn't static, its patterns shifted with environmental changes, suggesting complex machinery or even biological features. Federal response was swift. Within hours of the dive team's report, the Department of Homeland Security took control of the site, backed by Navy ships and Coast Guard units. A wide offshore exclusion zone was established, and civilian maritime traffic was rerouted under emergency orders. This was no routine discovery. The response, Military deployment, secrecy, and perimeter enforcement far exceeded that for archaeological finds or even sensitive equipment. The nature of the object and the scale of the reaction suggest a discovery that could challenge basic assumptions about technology, history, and humanity's understanding of its environment. What began as a local environmental response quickly escalated into one of the most expansive federal lockdowns in recent U.S. history. Within 48 hours of the underwater discovery, Florida's Atlantic coast was transformed. The Department of Homeland Security, in coordination with the Navy and Coast Guard, established a multi-agency security perimeter extending over 50 miles in every direction from the anomaly. This was not a routine restricted zone, it was a full-scale federal exclusion area. National Guard units deployed rapidly, establishing checkpoints and blocking beach access with military vehicles. Black helicopters conducted routine surveillance flights, patrolling in coordinated patterns. Residents described the sudden military presence as both surreal and unsettling. Beachfront hotels received government notices requesting guests to relocate, with compensation and inland lodging offered. Residents within the zone were advised to stay indoors, citing vague public safety concerns related to federal operations. The maritime lockdown was even more extensive. Civilian vessels were barred from entering the area, with Coast Guard cutters turning back all traffic. Long-standing commercial fishing routes were cut off, creating immediate hardship for local fisheries and coastal economies. Accompanying the physical restrictions was a nearly total information blackout. Journalists attempting to access the area were blocked. Official statements were limited, describing the event only as an offshore anomaly of federal interest. No technical or scientific context was offered. Satellite imagery became restricted. Marine tracking platforms showed blank zones where traffic should have appeared. Amateur radio operators reported interference originating from within the secured area. The scale of the response pointed to something far more serious than environmental cleanup or a sunken relic. Military analysts estimated the operation would cost millions of dollars weekly, resources not deployed lightly. The object's nature was significant enough to justify intense secrecy and expense. Local and state officials were left in the dark. Mayors, commissioners, and state representatives received no special briefings and could not provide answers to their communities. This exclusion created public confusion and frustration. For those living near the lockdown, the psychological toll was severe. Military vehicles patrolled residential streets, helicopters circled overhead, and the absence of clear information allowed fear and rumors to fill the void. Enjoyed the video? Before we continue, don't forget to ring the bell, share it with your friends, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. It truly helps me out, and I promise to bring you even more awesome content. At first, the tarballs that triggered the crisis seemed scientifically routine. NOAA researchers quickly identified them as weathered petroleum residues. Dark, sticky clumps formed when crude oil degrades in the ocean through evaporation, sunlight, and chemical reactions. These tarballs typically range from coin-sized droplets to several inches across. Such formations generally point to one of three sources: offshore drilling leaks, illegal bilge dumping, or natural underwater seepage. Though none are harmless, they fall within well-understood environmental processes and can usually be traced through standard investigative methods. The Florida incident, however, diverged sharply from known patterns. The sheer volume of tarballs, their synchronized appearance across multiple counties, and their arrival during winter, when prevailing currents move materials away from shore, challenged established oceanographic principles. Scientists noted several anomalies. First, the seasonal timing made a natural event unlikely. Winter currents off Florida's Atlantic coast should have dispersed contaminants away from land. Second, the distribution was unusually uniform across a 50-mile stretch, suggesting a singular, coordinated release rather than gradual buildup. Despite thorough investigation, no source could be found. Coast Guard surveys detected no leaking tankers, broken pipelines, or illegal discharges. Even Port Everglades, which handles millions of gallons of petroleum products, showed no operational failures that could explain the contamination. The mystery deepened when standard chemical fingerprinting techniques, used to trace oil back to specific sources, were absent from public disclosures. These methods can identify crude oil origins and refinery paths, but no such results were shared, prompting speculation about undisclosed findings. Wildlife behavior added further concern. Dolphins and seabirds changed migration patterns, some avoiding long-time habitats. Fish shifted their populations, and several marine species exhibited stress signals tied to major environmental disturbances. This mix of scientific familiarity and unexplained behavior created a troubling knowledge gap. The Tarballs were petroleum, but their cause, timing, and environmental impact suggested something outside conventional explanations. Scientists were left with effects they could measure but a cause they could not identify. This uncertainty gained added weight when viewed alongside the underwater structure discovery. Could the object have triggered deep-sea changes that released buried petroleum? Or were two separate, rare events coinciding in the same place and time? As federal investigations continued, scientists reached a troubling conclusion: the submerged structure was not inert. It exhibited behavior suggesting awareness, responsiveness, and possibly intelligence. Monitoring equipment placed around the object recorded persistent fluctuations in electromagnetic fields, temperature, and acoustic emissions. These variations followed patterns indicative of deliberate activity rather than natural randomness. Advanced imaging by underwater probes revealed internal architecture inconsistent with known natural or artificial structures. Inside were corridors, chambers, and geometric cores, configurations that shifted in response to external stimuli. During close examination, the structure's behavior intensified. Remotely operated vehicles approaching specific areas triggered changes in the object's rhythmic pulses. One probe lost all function within minutes of entering a passage, later found with targeted damage. The vehicle's circuitry was disabled in a precise pattern, suggesting intentional interference rather than accidental failure. Surrounding waters also changed. Marine species, fish, dolphins, seabirds avoided the area entirely. Coral growth patterns shifted dramatically, with some formations retreating while others grew in geometric patterns near the structure. Nearby coastal communities began reporting low-frequency vibrations, described as a constant humming from underground. Residents also experienced disrupted sleep and vivid dreams containing geometric and architectural imagery resembling the object's surface markings. High-clearance scientific teams were divided in their interpretations. Some believed the object acted as a sensor array, capable of responding to light, sound, movement, and even human electromagnetic activity. Others theorized it might be part of a larger buried system that had recently become active after a dormant period. Its material composition further defied analysis. Spectroscopy revealed a substance behaving as both solid and fluid, reconfiguring itself at the molecular level. It generated heat, resisted marine colonization, and exhibited properties not aligning with known physical laws. Most notably, the object's emissions became increasingly complex. What started as simple pulses evolved into structured patterns that suggested communication or data exchange. Surface markings shifted in sync with these emissions, resembling both technological interfaces and biological processes. The implications were profound. If the object was intelligent, it might have been observing or preparing for interaction. The central question shifted from what it was to whether its activation signaled a new era of discovery or an unknown risk. As the weeks passed and federal control over the site remained absolute, the structure's unexplained nature gave rise to increasingly complex theories within scientific and intelligence circles. With data restricted under national security and no official explanations, experts were left to interpret limited evidence while confronting phenomena that challenged assumptions about Earth's past and humanity's role within it. One major theory proposed a terrestrial origin tied to a lost civilization. Proponents argued the structure might be remnants of a pre-human, technologically advanced society whose achievements were erased by geological events. Its resistant material, geometric precision, and placement along a tectonic convergence zone echoed legends of ancient, sunken civilizations. Archaeological findings worldwide have revealed advanced technologies emerging and vanishing throughout human history, leaving only fragments behind. The object's exposure could be due to tectonic activity or erosion, revealing what had long been buried. This theory gained traction as researchers noted long-standing anomalies in the region, magnetic disturbances, seismic irregularities, and unique mineral formations, suggesting sustained influence from an unknown source. The object's recent activation might indicate it was triggered by planetary changes or a long-past environmental threshold. A competing theory suggested an extraterrestrial origin. The structure's materials, electromagnetic emissions, and interactions with human and animal systems indicated capabilities beyond known technologies. It responded to human proximity, interfered with electronics, and altered wildlife behavior. The surface patterns, while unfamiliar, showed advanced mathematical relationships, suggesting non-human intelligence. Supporters of this theory noted correlations between the object's emissions and cosmic events, solar flares, geomagnetic storms, and interplanetary conditions, hinting at a function as a monitoring station or dormant probe, possibly part of a broader interstellar network. Its location, deep underwater and shielded, would allow it to observe Earth's electromagnetic field over long periods. A third hypothesis, shared only in classified discussions, proposed the object was neither ancient nor alien, but part of Earth itself, a planetary mechanism embedded in the crust. This view suggested Earth might possess forms of intelligence operating on geological timescales. The structure could function as a regulatory system, activating in response to human development, environmental impact, or cognitive evolution. Evidence for this included the object's integration with geological systems, its magnetic influence, and its possible link to the Tarball phenomenon. If true, the structure's emergence could represent Earth's adaptive response to human influence. All theories pointed to one conclusion: the object's presence was intentional. Whether ancient, alien, or planetary, its activation marked a threshold moment with consequences still unknown. Which theory do you believe is most likely? Lost advanced civilization, extraterrestrial probe, or Earth's own planetary system activating in response to human development? And why? Let us know in the comments below. While the U.S. government maintained strict control over the Florida anomaly, international intelligence agencies had already taken notice. What started as a localized event had grown into a global geopolitical issue, with major powers quietly reacting to what could be the most significant discovery in human history. Complete secrecy proved impossible. Seismic networks registered unusual vibrations from the site. Satellite imagery showed the rapid buildup of U.S. military vessels and aircraft. Global electromagnetic monitoring stations began detecting anomalous signals originating from the exclusion zone. The international response, while covert, was immediate. Russian ships disguised as research vessels appeared near the perimeter. Chinese maritime patrols increased their presence in nearby international waters. European intelligence agencies activated covert assets within U.S. institutions, seeking insight into the discovery's nature. The U.S. faced a dilemma. Publicly acknowledging the discovery risked global demands for access and cooperation. Continuing secrecy, however, became more difficult as foreign surveillance confirmed the anomaly's growing emissions and strategic importance. Back-channel communications reflected rising tensions. Allies expressed frustration over being excluded. Rivals issued subtle warnings about the risks of unilateral control. Diplomatic pressure mounted, straining international relationships. Analysts soon realized the structure's emissions were not contained, they were being detected globally. The anomaly was broadcasting signals that reached across continents, providing other nations with direct evidence of the site's activity and deepening global interest. Military strategists warned that if the structure offered access to advanced technology, the nation that first understood or harnessed it could gain transformative capabilities in energy, space, or defense. The stakes prompted accelerated foreign intelligence and military activity. The situation escalated when foreign submarines began patrolling the edges of the exclusion zone. U.S. forces had to enforce the perimeter without provoking confrontation. The presence of competing militaries nearby introduced the risk of accidental escalation. Intelligence reports indicated that other nations had launched deep-sea exploration efforts in their waters. If similar structures existed elsewhere, the implications would extend far beyond U.S. borders, forcing a global reassessment of existing power structures. The lack of transparency created a dangerous environment. Without acknowledgement or diplomacy, international relations were shaped by speculation and fragmented intelligence. There were no established protocols, leaving the world's most powerful governments operating in uncertainty over a discovery that could redefine their future. As scientific teams continued monitoring the submerged structure, a larger question emerged. What was its ultimate purpose, and what did its activation mean for humanity? Observations indicated the structure wasn't simply reacting to its discovery, it appeared to be following a pre-programmed response to specific planetary conditions. Advanced sensors detected increasing internal activity. Deep penetrating sonar revealed shifting components, suggesting dormant systems were reactivating. Surface patterns became more complex, reflecting evolving mathematical relationships that hinted at data processing or communication. Signal emissions evolved from rhythmic pulses to intricate patterns. Cryptographers and linguists, operating under high-level clearance, found repeating motifs and logic but were unable to interpret the underlying meaning. The communication method defied conventional linguistic frameworks. Environmental changes soon followed. Oceanographic readings showed minor but consistent shifts in currents, temperatures, and chemical profiles emanating from the structure. The object was actively altering its surroundings, though its purpose remained unclear. Marine wildlife behavior became increasingly abnormal. Non-native species appeared in the area, while local species displayed erratic migration and even cross-species coordination. These responses suggested an influence not detectable by standard instruments. The structure's activity also appeared linked to cosmic phenomena. Correlations emerged between its emissions and solar flares, geomagnetic storms, planetary alignments, and lunar cycles. This indicated it might be monitoring celestial mechanics across the solar system. One proposed structure was a planetary sensor assessing Earth's development. Another viewed it as a relay for interstellar communication. The most concerning theory suggested it was an evaluation device, determining whether humanity had reached a threshold warranting contact or intervention. Its timing raised further questions. The structure activated alongside global instability, climate change, rapid technological shifts, and widespread societal disruption. Researchers debated whether its emergence was coincidence or deliberate timing based on a preset threshold. Psychological effects were reported near the site. Residents described vivid dreams with geometric and architectural imagery matching the object. Some felt observed or experienced sudden insights into advanced concepts they had never studied. Even personnel stationed at the site showed cognitive changes. Enhanced problem-solving, spatial reasoning, and pattern recognition were recorded, suggesting proximity to the object might influence human cognition. As activity intensified, one critical question remained: was the structure initiating contact, conducting an assessment, or preparing for intervention? The implications of its continued activation extended beyond science into questions about humanity's readiness and its place within a broader context. In the absence of official explanations, the human response to the Florida anomaly fractured along cultural, psychological, and ideological lines. What began as scientific curiosity evolved into a widespread social phenomenon, reflecting deep uncertainties about human understanding and belief. Communities near the exclusion zone experienced disruption. Military presence, restricted access, and visible federal operations created a climate of unease. Residents described a sense of being trapped in a situation they did not understand and could not control. Across the world, reports of vivid dreams and sensations surfaced online. Users described consistent experiences, geometric visions, architectural imagery, and feelings of being observed. Initially dismissed as stress-induced, neurological studies on affected individuals revealed unusual brain patterns, synchronized oscillations, enhanced inter-regional connectivity, and heightened pattern recognition. Religious groups interpreted the event in varied ways. Some saw divine signs or judgment, while others viewed the structure as a test of spiritual endurance. Interpretations diverged widely, reflecting long-standing theological and cultural narratives. Scientists split between caution and action. Some urged restraint, citing unknown risks. Others advocated investigation, viewing the structure as a unique opportunity for knowledge and advancement. Government silence fueled conspiracy theories. Online communities speculated about ancient technologies, alien artifacts, and secret programs. While many claims were implausible, some mirrored actual observations, raising difficult questions about the line between speculation and suppressed truth. Cultural responses varied. Western nations emphasized technological analysis, while some Eastern and indigenous communities framed the anomaly in spiritual or prophetic terms. Oral histories and myths referencing powers beneath the ocean gained renewed attention. Social media amplified these responses. Competing theories and personal accounts spread rapidly, challenging official narratives and blurring the line between verified data and collective speculation. Economic effects were global. Tourism losses rippled into financial markets. The technology and defense sectors experienced volatility as investors speculated on the structure's implications. Educational systems struggled to contextualize the event. Teachers faced questions science could not yet answer, and discussions of humanity's role in the universe took on renewed urgency. The discovery forced a reevaluation of assumptions. Across belief systems and cultures, people confronted the possibility that humanity's understanding of reality was incomplete and being challenged. Florida's beaches remain sealed under military control as the submerged structure continues its unexplained activity. What began as an environmental incident has become a discovery that challenges humanity's understanding of Earth, history, and our place in the universe. The object's activation, scale of government response, and global effects suggest it marks a threshold event. Whether ancient, alien, or Earth-born, its presence signals a trigger long in place, now fulfilled. What lies beneath has awakened. The world has changed, and we may not be ready for what comes next. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your support means a lot to us. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for being with us. Leave a comment, like to show your support, and remember to hit that subscribe button for more exciting videos. See you next time.